This video is part 3 of a series where we examine simple linear regression within StatCrunch. In this video, we're going to use our regression equation for prediction. That is, for any value within the range of our data for the x variable, we'll be able to predict the value for the y variable. Now, we'll use the same variables as in the previous videos, distance to and commute to from the early fall 09 class survey. Again, it's important to remember that commute to is given in the dataset in minutes and distance to is given in miles. Now, here again is our usual regression output. You'll remember that our regression equation is commute to equals 13.442 plus 0.892 times distance to. Now, let's think for a second about the range of values for distance to, our x variable in this model. If we look at the scatter plot for these data, we see that distance to ranges from a half a mile to 40 miles. That is, all of our students in this data set commute between half a mile and 40 miles from home to the college. So that means we can use our regression equation to predict a value for commute time given any distance traveled between about a half a mile and 40 miles. So let's pick a value for distance traveled, say 25 miles. To use the regression equation to predict the commute time for someone who lives 25 miles from the college, we're going to take our regression equation, and now you notice I've written it here with the hat symbol above commute time, and that's to emphasize that we're getting a predicted commute time out of this regression equation. We're going to plug in a value for distance traveled, and it's going to give us the predicted commute time for a student that travels that far from home to the college. So, if we want to predict the commute time for someone who travels 25 miles, we're going to plug 25 into the equation for distance traveled. So we're going to take 25 times 0.892. We're going to add 13.442, and that's going to give us our predicted commute time, 35.7 minutes. So for a student who travels 25 miles from home to college, their predicted commute time is 35.7 minutes. Now, this is theoretically what's going on when we use the regression equation to predict a value. But now let's go back into StatCrunch to see how we can make StatCrunch give us this. Okay, so let's go back to our regression output. I'm going to go to Options, select Edit. And now we need to find the menu where we have Options, Predict Y for X equals blank. Let's select that option, and in the spot for X, let's type in 25. So we're going to predict Y when X equals 25. That is, we're going to predict the commute time for somebody whose distance traveled is 25 miles. So now let's click Calculate. And we get the same output. It's the same output for our regression, except now down here at the bottom we have an additional piece called predicted values. So we had entered 25 for X. So for an X value of 25, we get a predicted value of Y, 35.7. And this is just what we had calculated before by hand.